Once you make your first $100,000, everything just gets way easier, right? Like, I truly believe that if you can make $100,000 wholesaling, at once you hit that point, you don't kind of just fall off. Like, you start making way more money and do it. And I've been really thinking about like everyone in freelancer.com that's been actually becoming successful or not successful, and especially ones that make millions. I kind of been thinking about this new rule that like if you make 100 grand wholesaling, like it's only up from there. Guys or gals rarely make 100 grand wholesaling and then they just fall off because that confidence is there. I mean, what do you think about that? I think about this theory for a little bit.
Well, it's all about your ability to push your comfort level.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, if you go to work and you get a job, and just say you get paid 5 grand a month, and you get $2,500 every 2 weeks, that's your just call it your barometer, your setting. And so when you do that, after you do that X amount of years, you've been conditioned your whole life to ask for a 3 to 5% pay raise. And so when someone goes, hey, listen, we can take you from making 5 grand a month to making 100 grand a month, people are like, oh, wait a minute. Oh my God, how do we, I can't do that number. No, no, no. You've just never pushed yourself to it and you've conformed what society's done. What if I could show you a way and a will called wholesaling on how you can do it? Now, you won't do it overnight, but we can at least double what you make now, and you can triple, quadruple, and before you know it, once you learn the dynamics of it, you can easily do it. I remember the first time I earned my first, I went from 5 to 6 grand a month, and then I did 10 grand in one closing. It was like the shock factor. And I'm like, okay, well, what if I could do it again? That's all I wanted to do. Okay, I did it again. Again. Then I remember somebody having a conversation. What if you could do like 25 grand a month consistently? And I just kept pushing. And then once I hit that threshold, it was just the norm. And you get accustomed to a certain income lifestyle of way you can do it. You can do whatever you want with the money. But like once you push to get it and you see you can do it, it's actually really easy. The hardest part is just hitting it. And most people don't want to strive just to hit it. So if you're making 5 grand a month, we're just talking, let's get you to 10. And then 10 gets you to 20, 25, gets you to 50, 50 to get you 100. It's not as hard as you think. I think it's that first reach you do is the absolute hardest because it pushes you outside your comfort level. And you actually get physical proof, show you could actually do what you say you're going to do. And once you do it, you can't deny it. Then you go, well, why can't I make 50 grand a month? And then you go, why not 100? The only limitation you have is what you set in your head. And I learned that in wholesaling. If you set your target for 10, you're going to limit yourself to 10. And so 10 can easily turn into 100. Everybody has to start somewhere. Most people are coming from a paycheck or they're coming from their school system, which teaches the complete opposite. That's why I love wholesaling. You just have to hit that threshold. Once you touch it once, you were so tantalized by it, you have to go get it again because you already know it's possible. You've proven the theory and you've got outside of your comfort zone. The question is, when you do it the second time, the brutal truth, it's so much easier because you know the path to get there. And that's the secret to wholesaling. Most people don't want to reach past their first paycheck. They even do that first $10,000 or $25,000 because that's the most painful journey in wholesaling. And when people get uncomfortable, what do? They revert back to their natural, safe place where the school taught them, their parents taught them. And if you truly want to get free in life, you're going to have to leave your comfort zone. It is no different in wholesaling.
$100,000, that's what I really think about because if you could just consistently get like a deal a month, I think most people getting into here, right? Like they would just quit their job. And so everyone asks, like, well, how do I make my first six figures? How do I get consistent wholesaling deals? It's the funniest thing. Like, just if you replace deals with work, it all changed. And so people would ask me weird questions. So, like, let's just flip this, right? So, I was like, how do I consistently get wholesaling deals every single month? But if you flip it to, how do I consistently work hard every month? How do I consistently call 1,000 people a month? I truly believe that is a way better question because that's how I look at it. And then people look at me like I'm crazy. Well, like make, 500, 1,000 calls a month. And they're like, whoa, that's a lot of work. And then, I give suggestions and then people flip out on me. But here's the, stop asking like, how do I do a deal a month? How do I make my first six figures? Never the question I always found. It's like, how do I make my first 10,000 cold calls? And I truly, truly, truly believe if people change that mindset, they'll start making a lot more money. And then you kind of just play it a game, right? So you have 10,000 and you go from, okay, now I have only 9,000 left, then 8,000 left to my goal. And if you look at it like steps, right? Because, like I used to get really into running, right? Like, I was training for the marathon, used to get really big into running, right? I mean, you're a skinny little man. That was, like right after 2020, how long were you? You were running like 4 miles a day.
5 on average.
What? Tell everyone what you did on Thanksgiving 2021.
Wait.
No. Everyone's got to hear that.
Well, I decided to do a 48-hour fast before Thanksgiving because, like to eat a big meal. And then I decided in my haphazard to do it, we were going to be traveling with family. So let me just set that up. I go, fine, I do a 48 hours, not that painful. It's very good for your body.
Well, that means if Thursday, right? And that means on Tuesday, you didn't eat, you ate your meal on Tuesday. You ate a meal Tuesday, and then you would eat Thanksgiving dinner.
No, you would eat a meal. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever it was. 48
Just so people get context, how hungry.
But the idea is I would run my 5 miles, and then I believe I did an extra like 2 or 3 miles on the day before for the calorie.
So how many total Thanksgiving running?
I think it was 7 or 8 miles I did. And then I remember coming in and you're looking at me like, you don't look so good. I go, I've got a problem. And long story short, I started dry heaving. I started having problems. I had to get salt. I had to get Gatorade in me. I dehydrated myself, but it got better.
Yeah, okay.
I had to, the night before, I had to pre-cook, slow roast, I think 2 or 3 turkeys.
3 turkeys.
And I don't know if and I'm sitting there, marinating them, and the juice is dripping off. I go, and there's something that happens to the human body when it sees food and it's hungry. Everything just started growling, and I did everything to subside it, and that was my downfall. So the moral of the story is don't go crazy. Like everything's in moderation, but I'm a wholesaler. I like to do extreme stuff. So sometimes when it comes to eating, when it comes to workout, I've been, and so anyways, when COVID hit, they took our gyms away. They took everything away, and we were working out in the garage and doing everything. Thank God we still had wholesaling, but I just ran. And the reason I ran, the funny story is I hate running more than anything. I think it's the most, for a big guy like me, 6'2", in the 200-pound range, running is hard. It's very taxing, and it really, really, it mentally exhausted me, which is what I needed during those times. And I think I dropped like 25 pounds like in a matter of a month or two just from running. It was like, I see how people get the runner's high and they get excited. It's a lot of fun because you have to build and work on it every day. And I'm one of these people who have to mentally stimulate my mind. So when you take the normal away, which was a freak time for all of us in this nation, I go, well, let's run. I hate running worse than anything. It'll take up a lot of time. But don't fast 48 hours and run like a half marathon. It doesn't go well.
That was bad. That was really bad. But going back, right, to consistency, right? Like you run every single day and like you just do it, right? And then you kind of get used to that habit. I always look at it the same way. How do I get consistent deals every month? Like, well, how do you consistently cold call every month? How do you consistently text every month? And then you get what type of channel should I be doing? What type of I'm like, the problem in wholesaling is it's like a buffet out here, right? There's so many ways to get rich, and most wholesalers just stand there in front of the buffet like, what should I get? Obviously with me, I look at buffets differently because I like to eat, as you know. Basically, you start with the meats and then you go, down the line. And the way I always look at it is like, just start cold calling no matter what, because cold calling builds the skill of talking to a seller. It gets you confidence. And so I tell everyone, what is confidence, right? It's the belief in the words you say and the actions you do. And obviously experience is the greatest way to build that belief, but you could have no experience and have great belief, right? And so you can do that too. I say cold calling, and then you can do everything else, right? But consistent wholesaling deals always stem from the consistent work. Now, kind of like on the running or the fasting or whatever, right? It's very uncomfortable. talk about fasting, right? Like I always do the 24-hour fast, right? So I get hungry every night. But again, I fast, by the way, entrepreneur wholesaler tip, right? I learned how to fast on accident because I learned I could do about 7 appointments a day, right? That's about 7 hours, right? An appointment per hour, right? If I was lucky. And that's about like, I don't know, 8 a.m. Then you get home at like 6 or 7, right? So about like 7 appointments a day over 7 or 8 hours, right? You got to drive, go, And I found out that I was wasting so much time, going to like McDonald's or something, like grab a sub, packing food sucks. And I found out if I just don't eat, I don't have to take a lunch break. I just work. And if you do it over like a couple of weeks, you don't get hungry anymore. And then I'm just consistent with it. And it sucked the first week, but you just get used to it. And kind of like you're saying, people have like this barometer. If you're making 10 grand a month, then you start making 40 grand a month. And then you go back to 20 grand, you feel like a loser, but like you're making 20 grand a month, right? Yeah. And the same thing is I forgot what the effect is called, but it's like when you're driving a car 70 miles per hour for like 3 hours straight, and then you go to 60, you get used to going 70 miles an hour. It doesn't seem crazy. Yeah. If you're on a plane, you're going like 500 miles an hour. You don't feel it. If you're going 500 miles in a car, you'd be, even people like, I know you don't do this. I don't do this, but like I got some buddies that are insane, right? They'll drive like 100 miles an hour down the highway. Like it's nothing. But I get freaked out. But after like 30 minutes, I'm like, it's normal. It's weird. It's very weird, right? And so you just got to consistently do the work, and then consistently have that mindset that you're going to keep it going, right? And the reason I beg everyone just to make their first 100 grand is you just have to have that belief. And the question is, well, what type of person can consistently do it? I've always found, and I don't want to generalize human beings, right? But I've been dropping this statistic lately to show how easy it is to make 6 figures. There's millionaire wholesalers telling people how easy it is to make 6 figures. Now so do you know the percent of Americans that make over $100,000 a year?
I want to say it's less than 10.
Right. Most people say 5. Most people say 6, maybe 10, right? 21% of Americans make over $100,000. That is the median, right? Not the mean, right? What's the average income? No, not average income, right? How many people, yes or no, make over 100 grand? Or it's 21%. And the craziest part about that is like, wow, it's insane. Mm-hmm. And another statistic I've been kind of spewing off, and everyone wants to say, how do I become successful? What's the secret? Well, I always look at it like this, right? And so, the percentage of marriages that fail? Pretty easy. Everyone knows 50%, right? And I've been looking at those statistics, right? And it's very, very interesting seeing a couple of things, right? And I learned how to just basically hack the game. Now, this is not Zach's marriage hacking advice, but I'm gonna give you some pretty easy advice, right? I'm gonna see you. Okay, you've been married how long?
See, now you're testing me. You're gonna get I guess coming up on 29 years.
29 years, right? And so I would say it's a successful marriage, right? Married my mom. So, I guess that's me. That's a weird way to say it, but I'm trying to say for the podcast, I'm not trying to be weird, but like all I have to do is ask you a bunch of questions, right? So first question, right? And I'm going to get you in trouble here, but you just got to answer truthfully. Okay. You're recorded. Are you a cheater? No, right? And so, and then are you broke? Right now. No, I'm talking about now. So no, but like now you're not, right? No. And so if you take the statistics, right, and was this your first marriage? Yes. Okay. So if you look at the stat, I know it's your last. Okay. Great. You guys some brownie points. But if you look at marriage statistics of people that don't, if guys decide not to cheat and they make more than 100 grand a year, and it's their first marriage, the chance of the marriage lasting over 50 years is like 90%. Mm-hmm. That's the crazy. So I got to ask you those 3 questions. Yep. And it's like 90%. Isn't that crazy? And so it's like, and so the way I think they have like at wholesaling. Yeah. Like most wholesalers will fail, but it's like, okay, well, if you consistently cold call every single day and you decide not to be a loser, I guess, right? And just be like complainer, your chance of success is like 90%, right? And so that's an uncomfortable question to ask, but like all I have to do is find a guy, just ask him those 3 questions. And if one of them's off, then I hate to say it, you're broke, right? Finances are a problem in most marriages, right? Like now you might be close to 40% success rate, right? Maybe it goes down to 20 or 30. And if you look at second marriages, 70% chance of a divorce. Third marriages, like 80% of a divorce, right? So I know this is crazy to say, but like you just got to skew the numbers in your favor. I'm not a gambler, but I love looking at statistics, right? And so I always look at like, how do you drive safe? Well, if you decide not to drive from the hours of 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., the chance of getting in a car crash goes down by like half. So you just got to look at things like that, right? And that's always look at wholesaling, right? Maybe this changes the way you look at actually getting deals, but just consistently going out here and doing the work, your chance of success just skyrockets. And so if we look at the amount of people making over $100,000 a year in America, 21%. And so all you have to do is just be better than 79% of people out there. That's all you have to do. I really don't think it's that hard to be better than 79% of. If there's 100 wholesalers, you just got to beat 79 of them.
I think one of the challenges people do is they get excited about wholesaling, they take the action, the tons of cold calls, the texts, the door knockings, whatever it is, and then they get uncomfortable. We know you want to go back to your comfortable, and then you start comparing yourself to that average crowd that you're trying to rise above. Well, she doesn't have to do it, she doesn't do that, and then you start making amends, and you can't. Like, I'll give you a saying is to truly become an effective wholesaler, you're going to have to kill the old version of yourself, or that version is going to kill you. Because that's the reason why you got here. And it's tough. It's so easy to go back, well, all these people, they're going to question you. Remember, the only people, your family loves you, but the only people that are ever going to attack you when you try to do something in better life are people that are below you, or they feel threatened in their own environment, meaning they're questioning like, well, why is he or she doing it? I'm complacent here, and you're making me uncomfortable. You can't let that jar you. So when you go on that wholesaling journey and you make 1,000 cold calls, you go, man, I just got the crap kicked out of me. They're all laughing at me like, why are you wasting your time doing that? Because they're used to being paid per phone call, and you're getting paid per deal. So just look at it like this. If I had to make 1,000 phone calls even to get an appointment, and say that appointment earned me 20 grand, what are you making, 10, 20 bucks a phone call? You have to have the mindset. It's all about the sacrifice. So when we go to work, we sacrifice what? Time to get paid. And what we're trying to do is get a result to get an unlimited paycheck. But the key here is you can't compare yourself to your old version, because that version you're going to have to kill. And honestly, it scares the crap out of a lot of people. It scared me. But when you do it, you'll become the better version, the one that you were truly made to come into. We can all be average. We can all be average. You go back to that anytime you want. You already admit it sucks. So if you picked wholesaling and you want to do that 100K, you're going to have to do exceptional things. And if you do that, just don't compare yourself to your old version.
I agree. And I like using basketball analogies because I truly believe outside of height, basketball is pretty fair to a point, right? Like so everyone can play basketball. Not everyone has played football, but most people play like pickup basketball. So that's why I like to look at it like that, right? So let's use statistics for this, right? So if you want to be like, I don't know, 6 figures, right? In basketball, I know, right? So like, how hard is it to be better than 79% of basketball players, right? There's a lot. So we're talking about America's we're talking about everyone, right? 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, right? And so the thing about it, like, do you know the top 21% of basketball players? They're not in the NBA. They're not playing college basketball. We got to remember, D1 athletes are like top 1%, right? Guys who are on the high school basketball team that made the basketball team are like top 15%, right? Like, to be top 21%, you just got to be okay when you're playing rec league, right? And so that's the way I always look at it. So like in wholesaling, to be top 21%, it's not even that difficult. Like, if you're competing against regular guys, you're automatically going to be top 40, right? And if you show up every day and just do something, you're top 30%.
And if you learn to dribble with your left hand, you can easily crack the top 25%. Most people just go because it's easy. And this is why I'm a righty. So to do something with a lefty, like people say, hey, throw me that ball with your left hand. And then the old saying goes, you throw like a girl. And the idea is just because you've never practiced it. So why would cold calling or doing wholesaling, is it going to be any different? Throw with your left hand, you're going to look like an idiot for about a month. And then after a while, you will find a fluid motion. People Listen, you either got to like right or throw with one hand or the other. So if you're lefty or righty, it's just, and I don't know what the statistic says, but people usually follow what their parents do. But like if you force someone to do it left-handed, they will adapt. They eventually will adapt and come through. So if you look at wholesaling is, think about it. You've always thrown the football or you bounce the basketball with your right hand. We're asking you to do it with your left hand. You're going to look like an idiot for a while. It's okay. So you can either quit, you can let all your old friends, your family make fun of you, and you can just work through the progressions. But I promise you, anyone who dedicated throwing left hand, a baseball, a football, a basketball, dribbling it, within 90 days, you will not notice that big of a difference because it's all about repetition. It's the mother of all skill. Why would it be any different in wholesaling?
It reminds me of the next Super Bowl champion MVP, Tua Tagovailoa, right? We love Tua, but like my favorite is the Tua story, right? It's the ultimate story of training. Yep. He's a righty. Right? I throw football with the right. I'll shoot the ball with the righty, right? But I consider myself terrible throwing a football with the left hand. Well, Tua's a right-handy. He's a right-hander, right? His dad was a lefty, and none of his kids were lefties. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say anything because he kind of scares me, that dad. But he made his son Tua throw with the left hand because he wanted a left-handed son. Now, I don't want to get your fathering take on that, but I truly believe, if he threw his right, he'd probably be way better. But he is an elite NFL quarterback. Yeah. Can't deny that. He's a good NFL quarterback playing with his non-dominant hand. He only throws the left. And he'll throw better than any guy who's a righty. It's hilarious to me. And it just shows that if you just train hard enough, it will overcome any issues you have. Same thing in wholesale. You just show up, you'll get better and better. And so it's do you think you can take someone who's top 50 percentile in basketball, and if they trained every single day, they could be top 25? Anyone. You just got to train and show up. It's never been easier to succeed in the game. Never been easier to wholesale than absolutely right now. You could do everything right. We provide free lists at freewholesaling.com. We'll provide you all the scripts. We'll provide you literal cash buyers for free. How many millions of softwares are out there in the wholesaling? I mean, obviously XLeads is the best one, but how many softwares will show you cash buyers? How many softwares will get you in front of vacant properties and absentee owners? Simple. Every government, really pretty much every county has government list available. Everybody knows to drive around look for ugly houses. The thing about it is the information is everywhere. So everyone assumes since information's there, everyone's on the same level playing field. It's not at all. Because the unfair advantage is if you have the information and the other guy wants to work 10 hours a week, you have the information, you work 20 hours, you're going to beat the guy. It's just that simple. And I always look at it as like video games because I've personally never found a wholesaler who complained about consistency that got a bunch of deals, right? Oh, I can never consistently do it. And I always called them out. Consistency is the funniest word in the world, right? Because we're talking about consistently getting deals, making your first six figures. I always tell a guy, and I always like going after, husky fellas, as well, I'll say it, like me, I don't miss a meal, right? But the thing about it is if you ask a guy that likes to eat, like me, it's well, I'll ask you, have you ever gone a week without eating food?
A week? No.
Not your entire life.
No.
You're right. You're really consistent, right? Yeah. Have you ever gotten 2 days without drinking any water? Wow, you're really consistent. Mm-hmm. No, because it's just instinctual, right? I get hungry, so I eat, right? There's it's a chemical called ghrelin in your stomach that makes you hungry. It's your hunger chemical. Well, what I try to tell people is you should have a little chemical in your brain reminding you that you're broke and you're a loser. And I know that sounds like bullying, but it's not. So the same thing that makes you hungry, I'm hungry, so you eat. I mean, that's millions of years of human DNA and protecting you to survive, right? That's awesome. But if you decide you're broke and you're just sitting there doing nothing on a 2:00 on a Wednesday, you should have this little hunger in your mind. Say, wow, I'm not where I deserve to be in life. I was not put on this earth just sit around and do nothing all day. I was put on this earth to actually do a purpose and help my family in my life, right? I do not have air in my lungs right now just to get by throughout the day. Go and do it. You should have that hunger, be oh, I'm broke. I got to keep working. And, I'm kind of a workhorse in that, especially starting at, We can talk about stories when I was a teenager. When I'd all night working, all morning work, just go, go, go. I wouldn't stop because I had this weird hunger in my mind that I just got to keep going. And I always like it. I'm using analogies today, but like I like sharks. The one thing about sharks that I have, and there's a difference between trying to make money and trying to always eat, because money can give a very, we talked about it on another podcast, but like money gets really weird. It's like, I mean, between you and me, right? Like we make a lot of money, right? And what point, what income? I don't think we've ever talked about this, right? But like, how much money do we need to have in rental properties where it's like, what's the point? And they're like, what? Like, okay, make 40 million a year passively on rentals. Like, what is the point of going from 200 million net worth to 400? Like, what? Literally, is there any more satisfaction we get? I'll be honest with you, and I know this sounds like a crazy statement to say, but like, I don't think I get any more like satisfaction doubling my net worth. Like, it's insane. Why do I need to go get another like 15 bedrooms in the house? So stupid. And it's, but a shark has that hunger chemical, and they never get hungry. It's the craziest thing. They'll always eat. And so the point is, if there's food available, you're always going to eat it. You're never going to be full, right? And that's why you just have to have the hunger to go out here and do it. And so when I tell people that are bigger, I'm like, well, you never miss a meal. Why don't you miss cold calling? And they say, that's stupid, because there's a chemical single that makes me hungry. I don't feel that for cold calling. And then I do this. And I always switch on them. I say, okay, well, let's make this a rule. You don't eat dinner unless you've cold called 100 people. And they always go, what do you mean? I'll starve. Bro, you will not starve. There's like, look this up. This is a real thing. There are people who are like 300-400 pounds. They used to do this in the 20s and the 30s. I think they sometimes do it now, but they did experiments. And I know this sounds gruesome, but like they just got her like a big fat guy and said, don't eat. Here's vitamins and water, but just don't eat any food for a whole month. And they all survived because the fat cells gave them all the energy, and they had the water, the vitamins, like they'd still not feel good, but they all survived. And they were perfectly healthy because they had plenty of energy on them, right?
Well, that's how the human body was designed. You build reserves up, and then usually in the wintertime you deplete them, and in the summertime when the harvest is good, you load up. And so
to compare,
you talk about sharks, is they're opportunistic. They have to feed when the opportunity arises. So they can eat almost sometimes up to their entire body weight in an entire day. Yeah. And the fun fact is, a shark can actually die from overeating. It's extremely rare, but a shark looks at every meal like you should look at wholesaling. When an opportunity comes, you better put your best foot forward. Because it could be if he doesn't take that, they might not survive. Because when a big shark gets weak and anemic and all that, they get eaten. They get eaten by the others. The young eat the weak. And like the tragic story you ever see, like a lion, like the formidable beast in the animal kingdom, they die one of the most painful deaths. When they get pushed out of the herd because they cannot dominate anymore, and the younger ones challenge them, and then they lose a fight, and they have to go off into the desert or wherever they go, and they just literally starve to death because they can't get any food. Most people don't understand the lion, the females actually go out and do the hunting.
Yeah.
The males run the dominant. And then when he loses that position, he doesn't know how to eat anymore. He couldn't, and when they're old, they don't have the ability, even if they wanted to catch, I don't know, a zebra or whatever. So they have to go out. They say it's one of the most painful way, and anybody can die. They just go out on their own and they starve and they dehydrate but they say a lot of times once they lose that dominant, they lose the will to live, and they know that's their time to check out. So you've got to, listen, we all eat meals, it's readily available. When it comes to wholesaling, you're going to have to create that need, that desire, because most people, it's so easy to focus on the results. Like, I want to make 50 grand this month, 100 grand, whatever it is. Okay, when you start on wholesaling, that's a goal. Yeah. That's a goal, and you do everything you can do it. What you have to do is you have to put forth the action to get the result. Because after 30 days, you'll be like, crap, I didn't hit the 50 grand. What do I do? And if you come to me and Zach and go, hey, what am I doing? I'm cold calling. I'm trying everything. Nothing's working. Okay, cool. Let's break it down. And then we have to get specific in your actions. How many calls did you make today? How many did you make yesterday? And what is your plan for the rest of the week? And are you on target to hit your actionable goals for the month? If you do the action, like everybody else says, if you do the action, you help people solve their problems, the money will come. If you get into wholesaling strictly for the money and you have no plans on helping anybody out, you'll make some money, but you definitely won't survive and you won't live it. If you just focus on the actions, like a basketball player, if you want to make a basket, what's the number one action you have to do?
Shoot the ball.
Yeah. So I can just go by the number of shots you've made. Statistically, I can tell what percentage of baskets you make. And then once you start to perfect it and learn to get your percentages better, the numbers just go up. But if you're the best shooter in the world and you only take 2 shots in the game, you only have a chance to score 2 baskets. And that's it. I'd rather you shoot 100 and you score 3. And then maybe I'm always going to tell you to increase the actionable steps until we're approaching the desired result. But if you just focus on the result alone, the target financial goal, especially in the beginning, it's hard because it's going to waver because it's not going to be there. And so many people go, well, yeah, I haven't even got a deal yet. I haven't got an appointment. And then what do? They start comparing themselves to the old crowd. Yeah. And they go, well, she says I'm working too hard. I'm killing myself. No. They're comparing you to a job where if you made 1,000 phone calls, they'd pay you $500. Yeah. I'm going to pay you 20 grand if you just get one deal, but you might have to get through 10,000 phone calls. So you're going to have to suck it up and you're going to have to get through it. It's going to get wildly uncomfortable. And look at your actions like, okay, I've made 1,000 calls. I've made 2,000 calls. I made 3,000. I always say, if you ever ask me and Zach, how many phone calls do I have to make to get a deal? You're asking the wrong question. The question is, how many are you willing to do to get your first deal? And if you go, whatever it takes, that's the right answer. Because do you really think you and me can predict how many? I've seen people do it in one phone call, crazy stuff. Yeah. And I've seen people take 50,000 calls. Remember, different markets, different skill sets, different confidence. And guys, when we talk about confidence when it comes to wholesaling, I don't have this bubble package to give it to you. Zach doesn't. You're just going to have to go out and take your confidence certificate, and you do it by putting in the time in the journey of wholesaling.
I mean, we could talk about like my favorite part of people that want to get their first deal because, before, the tube got a little aggressive with live seller calls, right? Things get very interesting, right? I used to do these live Visbo calls, right? And have them get taken down now, which drives me crazy. But something about Zillow, I'm not getting into it. But my favorite thing I always do there is I always say, okay, well, let's do the spinner wheel because I don't want to, have a fake grandma on the other line. Like, okay. But like, no actors on the other line here. And so what I like to do is I spin the wheel. I'm like, who's in this market? Smart market. Awesome. Okay. And then what I do is within an hour or two, I'll get like 2 or 3 signed contracts, or I'll get like 2 or 3 sellers like, boom, deal. And then everyone's like, wow, he's doing that in my backyard. I'm like, yeah. By the time you just watched me do it, you could have done it yourself. And I challenge a lot of people on this. And I have one live stream on the Zachin channel. Got taken on the Flipper channel. It's still on the Zachin channel where you can look it up. I think you just look up, watch me get a deal. Or no, I think it was basically like, I'm not getting off the stream until I get a deal. And I really told everybody, this is still live. I have it recorded and I have it backed up 3,000 ways. It's also on freewholesaling.com. But I clicked the live stream button. This was last year. It was insane. I clicked the live stream button. I did the ballsiest thing anyone on YouTube has ever done in the wholesaling space. I said, I'm not getting off this live stream unless I get a deal. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah. And also, I took my wallet. I threw it across I said, no wallet. Phone. I said, this might be 12 hours. And so I would go in there 45 minutes. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a long one. Yeah. I'm like, I got Uber Eats ready. I'm like, okay, it's going to be an all-nighter. But I was willing to do a 12-hour live stream, 20. I did not care. I was willing to do whatever it took. And within 90 minutes, boom. Because I didn't want to waste my time. And I had a lot of pressure people watching me. And they all watched me do it. And the question is like, well, if I could do that within 90 minutes, I think you could do it within 180. And I wasn't doing anything special. I was just calling FSBOs. And I was lowballing them. And it was kind of insane. but I did it. And it's just, it's crazy to me that like I can do it in literally where you live, right next door to you. But you just decide not to do it. And so the work is the thing, right? And then a lot of people say, well, it's saturated, it's the competition. There's saturation to a point, right? There's more wholesalers in the game now.
There's two types of saturations.
Yeah.
So there's two types, and one of them is completely made up, and the other one's actually real. There's price saturation if you're in San Francisco, Manhattan.
True.
The price is so high that it sets a threshold that most wholesalers are not going to be able to gain entry level to it. The proof of funds is too high. Everyone's extremely patient because they're wealthy people. I get it.
You don't own $1 million house in San Francisco by being just some bozo that won it on the lottery.
When you're frustrated with your results in your market and you go, it's just too saturated. And it's the head shake just like this every time. I'm like, let me give everybody a news flash on saturation. Most people start out wholesaling, at best, they give it 90 days. And what do they do after 90 days? They revert back to their old crowd. They get uncomfortable. So when we talk about saturation, 98% of the people you're calling your saturation are just your average Joe. Very little training. This looks cool. I'll make a ton of money. I don't have to do any work. So you make this saturation. There's a lot of people in it. Give me 100 wholesalers. I'll show you 95 that will be out because they don't have the stamina, they don't have the commitment, and they definitely don't want to make the sacrifice. So when we talk about saturation as a market, most of the time you're dealing with the average person that never even did a deal before. And all you have to do is rise above it. You just got to go to that next level, and you've got to go with conviction, and you actually got to help people solve problems. You're going to have to spend more effort on follow-up. And I'm just telling you, if it's price saturation, I get it. That's why we have virtual wholesaling. But when it comes to regular saturation, who are you really competing against? Like there's only been 2 or 3 players I've ever really competed with. And honestly, we rarely ever cross paths. And actually, I commend them for doing it. But all the other people, the slightest hiccup, they would throw up on every deal. And I'm just like, and you know what? Every time that person quit, 2 or 3 more would come behind them. Yeah. And it's just a low barrier to entry. That's the attractive part about wholesaling. But you guys, a lot of the saturation is just would-be average people that if someone sneezes at them, they will quit wholesaling. And you got to stop comparing that as a saturated market. You're better than that. And if you truly want to do this business, I always talk about running a marathon versus a sprinter. A sprinter wants to look good. There's a huge difference between looking rich and becoming rich. And here's the distinct difference. One sacrifices and will do whatever it takes and will look like a pauper to get there. And the other one wants to look good the entire time, look perfect no matter what the cost of it. If you can distinct between the two of becoming rich and actually or looking rich, make a choice, because 95% of America wants to be rich. Very few are going to make the sacrifice to become rich, especially in wholesaling.
I mean, I'll tell you an uncomfortable truth, right? Because this is for people like listening. Because if you're like this deep in the podcast, you're pretty serious about making money or wholesaling. That's what I believe, right? So if I look at my family and friends, hundreds for you probably too. It's like, well, how many of those people are like broke? Few, and the funniest part about it is like how many of I know a lot of my friends and family, right? They all know what I do. They all know I'm balling. That's all I could say, right? They all know you're making a lot of money. But how many of them say like, I wish I could do that? It's few, but like when it really comes to it, they still don't want to do it. And they literally see you change your entire life. They've seen me change my entire life. These are high school buddies, right? And they still won't do it. Still won't do it. It's insane to me. It's like my close friends and family will never get into wholesaling, and they'll make 40 grand a year.
They just want the end game, but they don't see the countless nights of being rejected and hung up on and like, I'm not getting anywhere, or this deal's falling apart. Everybody thinks this is such a gravy train. And you and me, I think we do a good job of conveying the messages. Like, this is real work. If you want it, you can take whatever you want. And that's a big problem with our society. It's just everybody Everybody wants a pill. Everybody wants a quick fix. Everybody wants something that just gets them there. And like the thing is, if you just do the work, it's there for anyone. Most people, let's just say it how it is. There's two thoughts in life, and you can clearly identify anybody. People will say one thing, oh, I'm this, I'm that. The character of a man or a woman is dependent on what they do, not what they say. If you are going to measure the character of someone by what they say, you are going to be fooled your entire life. So watch what they do. You can compare what they say, and that's how you make educated decisions moving forward. But the bottom line is everybody says they want it. Very few are willing to make that sacrifice to do the work to get what they want.
It's crazy. Like, how many people watch this, right, would be like, I would die to be your cousin who could call you anytime you want. Like your cousin, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many people would die to do that? They'd see you 4 or 5 times a year. They would always call or text you no matter what, because you were like that with family, right? Mm-hmm. How many of them would die to be in that position? Oh my God. Like, there's no way I don't become a millionaire, right? There's no way. But here's the crazy part. They still, like, when you're that close, just it's like numbing to most people. And then I got like people who I can only help people that want it, right? And so all the people that have ever became millionaires through us, right, or at least 6 figures, they all wanted it bad and chose to follow what we said. Like I had this kid at the gym, 18-year-old kid, just graduated high school, and he said, I'm not going to college or whatever, right? He kept bothering me. He's like, I really like your car. I really like, it's pretty cool, right? But like, he's just like, what do you do for a living? I just do real estate. Like, I don't push it, right? Can you hire me or something? I'm like, I just do it yourself. He's like, but I don't have money. I'm like, well, here's the thing. I told him, I'm like, just wholesale houses. What's that? I explained what it is. Like, really? I'm like, have you ever done it? I'm like, yeah, I've done it. Like, that's what I would do. He said, okay. And this is me, there's zero ego with me saying this, but all he would have to do is just go on his computer and search wholesaling real estate on YouTube. He'll find me. If he just took an hour, he'd find me. Pretty simple, right? And so I assumed this guy would go look it up and then say, wow, I didn't know you had all this stuff. And then he would ask me, and he'd look into it. Then he asked me questions. I can help the guy out. I'm here to help anyone out, right? Especially like young teenagers trying to get into it. And he always and then he always just asked me questions, always about cars and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, what job are you doing, man? And he's just like, I'm selling golf carts. I'm like, you never looked up wholesaling, did you? He's like, no. I'm like,
it's a lot of work.
And months go by, and he actually looked up wholesaling when he's like, oh my God, I didn't know this. And this was like randomly. I've seen this guy hundreds of times at the gym. I always say hi to him. But like one day he's like, oh my God. He started looking at me different. Yeah. I didn't know. And I'm like, and he's like, I'm going to go through the course to do it all. I'm like, okay, cool. And then a week later, he's asked me questions or whatever. He started bothering me a lot. I said, just do 100 trying for dollars leads. I said, just do that. Give me the list. I'll have my team call it. He said, okay. And it's been 6 months. Not one trying for dollars lead. And this is how it works, right? And so like it's, unless you really want it, it's not going to work for you. And so you just really have to want to win. And it comes back to Lions, right? I love this example. And this is a story I believe this is like an old, like ancient story, but it's like a true story, right? Where it's like every single morning in Africa, right? A gazelle wakes up and a lion wakes up, right? And the gazelle has its family, and it knows it has to provide for the family, get food, and it has to run away from the lions, right? To survive for the family, right? So Papa Gazelle has to outrun the lion so they could be the breadwinner for the family, whatever, right? Yeah. And the lion wakes up in the morning and says, well, I got little cubs, and if I don't get a gazelle, they're going to die. Yeah. So the gazelle says, if I don't outrun, I'm going to die. And the lion says, well, if I don't kill the gazelle, then my cubs are going to die. And we're in a society where everything should be fair, equal, and great, and everyone is all happy-go-lucky. And the truth is, if you turn off the electricity, if you turn off a lot of things, human beings go back to the real world pretty quick. And I'm not going to say wholesaling is like this or real estate or entrepreneurship. It's the closest thing to it, where this whole world will will eat you up and spit you out faster than anything else, especially the wholesaling industry. And that is truly, I'm not saying that's an evil mindset, but that's a mindset you have to have. If you don't do it, then someone else is going to get it. And if like, the whole point of it is the people actually want it more is going to get it. So who wins? It's usually whoever wants it more. And it's a very scary truth. And a lot of people get really uncomfortable when I say that, but that's what it is. And I'm not going to say I'm proud of this. I think you know what I'm about to say, but like I've legitimately put fathers out of business in wholesaling because I decided as a teenager I was just going to work harder than them. Pretty dark stuff. I'm not going to say it's dark, but I decided I was going to put people, like there's people in wholesaling when I was 17, 18, 19 years old, 17, 18, that they made all their money doing bandit signs. And I decided in high school I wanted to dominate bandit signs. And I decided just to get up at 4 a.m., go to bed at 2 a.m., just put signs out all day and destroy the guy. And I destroyed him. Just absolutely destroyed him. And, shout out to him, realtor, by the way. But, when you fail at wholesaling, become a realtor, but like, it's kind of scary out there. But I decided that I just wanted it more. And that guy who has kids, he should have wanted it more. Theoretically, on paper, he probably wanted it more, but it doesn't matter who wants it more, who actually does the work.
They just get complacent, and I've been in this business 23 years, and I've even gotten complacent. And then when you came in the business and I taught it to you, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. But I'm not going to give credit to because the person's controversial now, but there is a famous actor, and I think this really sums up the mindset.
P. Diddy?
No, Will Smith.
Okay.
It's not about slapping people, but he had a mantra that says, listen, if he was in a race to compete with someone, to either it's for money, fame, or whatever it is, and you put both on a treadmill, he says basically, I'm either going to beat you or I'm going to die trying doing it. I'm not going to quit. And it's one in between. And if I could give every wholesaler a piece of advice, if you're truly committed and you honestly, you've weighed what you want to do and you're willing to make the sacrifice and you want to become rich and not look rich, we check all those boxes, let's get you on the treadmill. And either you're going to win or you're going to die trying. Now, it's a figure of speech, but like the easiest thing to do in wholesaling is what? It's to quit. It's the easy out. It's the cop out. That's when you massively fail and you end all options. So basically what he's trying to tell you is, I'm going to outwork you. I might not be as talented to you. A lot of people think like wholesaling is like, you've got to be the sales thing. It's actually the complete opposite. Give me someone that will outwork someone. I will destroy any sales training anybody offers. Because if you truly want to help people and you know how to progress a lead and you're willing to do anything to make it win, there's nothing that can stop you from earning 10, 20, 50, 100 grand a month in wholesaling. Because once you hit these numbers, you're going to be like, damn, I know I've already proven I can do it. How do I do that again? And then you just start scaling up your business and you do it. But the first time it's shocking because we have such a limiting belief. Like most people, if they earn 10 grand in a month, they would be ecstatic. They're like, oh my God. And then you go, how can I do it again? I go, well, how can we double it? And then how can I triple it? And the one thing I've learned in wholesaling, the only limit is what you put your mind to and what you're going to do it. The more problems you can solve, the more people you can help, the more money you can make. I didn't say it was going to be easy, but you learn the journey. And after a while, the stuff that freaks you out in the beginning, it doesn't even faze you in the end. You're like, you look at the entire journey. So everybody that decides to join us with wholesaling, you're going to go through the journey. I always told you, if you do it free with me and Zach, or you pay somebody 100 grand, we're all getting on the same boat to do it. You've got to understand you're going to have to row your oars, and you just got to decide who you want screaming at you. And here's the secret. It's not me and Zach screaming at you. It's not a coach. It's your inner voice. Yeah. Like sink, like swim, or you're sinking to the bottom. And if you can take that attitude, I find people just, because they know that they're going to fail, and they know as long as they don't quit, they'll survive wholesaling and whatever they want to fix in their life, however much money they want, and more importantly, freedom of your time, it's all there for wholesaling.
You just kind of eliminate the distractions. And I'm sick of wholesalers telling me, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm happy. Here, I always look back like, let's do 3,000 years ago, right? Not, I can't, no, there's no societal controversies. And there's some, but like not 3,000 years ago, most people were farmers, or use 1,000 years ago, whatever, right? Most people were farmers. 90% of people were farmers, right? You had the knights and the whatever, right? And tribal leaders. I don't know. But like 1,000 years ago, most people were farmers. What would happen if you're a farmer and you got like a family and a farm, right? And you decide you were depressed today and you just wanted to take a breather, take 3 days off.
Mental day.
A mental day, for mental clarity.
Yeah.
Family don't eat, food goes rotten. Wolves go and destroy all the cattle, and family starves, and then you don't hear about them again. But think about it. Like if you're a farmer back in the day and you were happy, you worked. You were depressed, you worked. You were tired, you worked. You weren't tired, you worked. That's the thing, right? And there's all these proverbs in the Bible about just basically like, well, if you're lazy, then you don't survive. Like sloth is literally a sin in the Bible. And I absolutely love it when, if someone goes and tells me how it's just so difficult for me to wholesale. And it's just hard for me to like go out and do work. And I'm like, then just be homeless then. I don't want to be homeless. I'm like, why don't you be homeless? Well, there's consequences to that. And I always tell like, if you just don't want to, I tell people, like, if you don't want to work hard, just be homeless. It's pretty fun. Just sit around, eat food, be dirty. And it's not fun. It's terrible, but by the way, but like, just be homeless if you just want to be a loser. Like, if you just don't want to work, be homeless. Well, I don't want to do that. Oh, so you just want to do the bare minimum not to be homeless. Okay. And I tell everyone, like, working a job is way harder than wholesaling. Everyone thinks wholesaling is the easiest thing in their life. Get out of here. Wholesaling is way better than working a regular job.
Correct. And a lot of people, we talk about this disappearing middle class. Dude, the middle class is a big lie you've all been told your entire life. Listen, either you're poor or you're rich. The middle class just have a little bit more money than the poor. They just have a little bit more money than the poor, but they have the same problems. They're trading their time for money, and they can never get out of the cycle, and they pass it down from generation to generation. And that's why you're seeing such a disparity today. Is the mindset is, okay, what's your threshold? I want just enough money not to be homeless. Okay, I think that's 99% of the population. But a big population in the world lives like that because it's very tough out in third world countries. Yeah. And then we talk about people like, okay, I just want enough money to put a roof over my head and have 3 roommates. And then somehow we came up with this middle class. The middle class is just one firing away from being in the poor. Yeah. They're not as protected. They're maybe 3 or 4 cycles ahead. That's it. A rich person is usually a couple hundred or a couple thousand cycles, meaning if we had 100 bad months, you could survive it. The middle class, they say on average, in 4 to 6 months, they would be in financial disaster, possibly bankruptcy, and be in the exact same class as the poor. So but the thing is, I think people get a comfortable level. They go, well, he owns the same type of house. She drives the same type of car. Yeah. Our kids go to the same school, and we talk about a marathon runner. This is why I talk about wholesaling. Sprinters, they all try to keep up with each other. The marathon guy would just sit there and just let everybody race by him. A marathon, if you want to run 26.2 miles, you have to run your race. And if you try to match it to a sprinter, it's a psychological warfare and it's going to screw you up. So if you sprint just to feel good for that short period, you're going to lose the race. Yeah. So if you want to win the race, you're going to take some shots along the way. You might even sprain your ankle, but you have to pace it because you're going to have to give it everything you got that last 2 miles. And if you give it in the first 3 miles, then your stamina is going to be all screwed up. So keep in mind, it's your desired level of what you want in life. And if you really want more and become the better person, remember, you can do whatever you want with money. You can help other people out, get what you need, help everybody else out, help everybody else around you. But, we talked about like family and friends. Hey, I want to do wholesaling. All we ever tell when I taught you this, just tell them we do real estate. And then every now and then I go, if you find someone that needs help with the real estate, let me know. And then I can give them a reward for it. And that's the easiest way I pass on family and friends when it comes to wholesaling, because at the end of the day, once you even say the word wholesaling, they're like, what? What are you doing? And I just go, listen, I do real estate, and I leave it there. They all assume I'm a realtor when I do it. I don't care. I'm not here to justify it with them. I want to win for my family and my business. And outside of that, I just don't care.
It doesn't matter. And okay, we're telling you to work hard, which is great. But I think there's two halves of becoming successful and consistently getting deals. The first part's just getting the volume at like just work, right?
Yeah.
But the other half is doing it smartly, right? Like, back in the day, you just kind of be stupid and get deals, right? I mean, think about when I got started, especially when you got started, or when I got started, right? You could just pull a list from list source, right? There's no other software. Pull this from list source, skip trace it for 20 cents a record. Some people still charge 20 cents, by the way. FYI, if you want to get free unlimited skip tracing, xleads.com. Like, I had a guy tell me, oh, you should use this software. I'm like, okay, looks very similar to xleads. And they're like, it's only 14 cents. No, 12 cents per skip trace. I'm like, 12 cents?
Yeah.
It's $1,000 a month of skip trace. Like, yeah, that's a great deal. I'm like, we're talking about xleads. And now he's like, he canceled everything. Goes to xleads. But okay. But the thing about it is, it's so funny that like, it's not even about working hard anymore. Because back in the day, you work hard, you get rich, but it's not like that anymore either, right? Kind of like back in the day where you could just be like the local post office guy and have a 4-bedroom house with a wife that stayed at home with 4 kids, and you were making it really easy, no problem. It don't work like that anymore. There's not, and so you have to be a little smart with how you work. Same thing in wholesaling, because there is a little saturation, not terrible, but anyone can still be successful. So it's not about taking 10,000 calls. I just said that in the beginning, but it's not just 10,000 calls. How many people actually picked up, and how many people want to sell? Because really, the one KPI that only really matters in this business is how many offers you're making. That's it. Simple, right? And so the real question is, well, how do I be smart with my calls? Well, I always bring back the story of this guy, and he's probably watching this. Shout out to him. But basically, he asked me, he said, Zach, like, I'm making 4,000 calls. I'm using rough numbers. I'm calling 4,000 calls a week. Like, I should be rich. And I'm like, it doesn't matter how many calls you make. He said, what do you mean? I'm making 4,000 calls. And I'm like, oh boy. And I'm like, okay, well, how many people actually picked up the phone of those 4,000 calls? He said, like, I don't know, like 100. And I'm like, it's a 4% contact rate. That is terrible. Because we're averaging, 10, 15, 20%. Like, you're getting a 4% contact rate. He's like, yeah, I deserve to get a deal. You said a call, and I called. And this is always like guys in the gym. I spent 3 hours in the gym. Why am I not jacked? It don't matter that you spent the time in the gym. I worked 90 hours this week. It don't matter how many hours you put in this business. It does not matter. Okay? It is always going to be how many offers you can actually make. And so I'm like, you're at a 4% contact rate. Literally, you could have made 5. If you would get the same results as if I called 500 people. Said, no, but I called 4,000. I mean, it doesn't matter. You have 4% contact rate. And I go through the math, and he is calling 4,000 people a week with 2 phone numbers. You're spam likely all day. And so all he has to do is just expand the numbers. He's good, but it's kind of like hockey or soccer, right? It's not about how many shots you take. It's how many shots on goal. Mm-hmm. So they don't really show how many shots you really take in hockey. They mostly show shots on goal. And shots on goal is like, if I have a hockey, right, and I smack the puck, if no one was defended, if there's no goaltender there, if there's no goalie, or like, that shot would have gone in the net, but someone blocked it, right? And that's a better statistic, because anyone can shoot from half the rink, right? Anyone can do a half court shot, right? There's all from a shot. It doesn't matter. It's how many go in, right? And it just matters the shots that you take that actually could go. If you take more shots on goal, there's a way better statistic. And so stop looking at calls, look at contacts, and then go from offers from there, right? And so how do I get more people to pick up the phone? There's 2 ways. You get better lists, and you make sure your calling and dialer and system's all good. And anyone can use a dialer. Just don't be spam likely. That's all. That's my best advice for anyone. You can also validate your phone numbers, but I won't get into that whole thing today. It's a little too, it's for freewholesaling.com, by the way, right? For my free wholesale real estate course. But the best part about this is if you could just get better lists, you're pretty much going to crush it, right? Now, you get the best skip tracing. Well, skip tracing across the board's pretty even, right? xleads is still the best one, but there's still like, It's not that like, if you use this big software for wholesaling and our big software for the skip tracing is not going to be the thing that changes everything. Like it's not going to be the real thing. It's going to be how good the list quality you have. And so if I called 4,000 people on a drawing for dollars list, I'm going to get way more deals than guy there's 4,000 like vacant properties. It always comes down to how saturated the list is. I know you don't like to hear that, but the real thing, it's supply and demand. If there's lists of motivated sellers, right? And I truly believe this, and I know this sounds crazy, but like the vacant property list and maybe I believe a vacant property list and maybe an absentee owner list or a high equity list, they usually have the same motivation roughly. Vacant's definitely more, but like it's not a crazy massive difference. What I've always found is it's the motivation's important, but it's how many, actually, let me use a better one. Pre-foreclosures and probates. I believe this. So let's say no one has called this list ever, right? Don't you believe that pre-foreclosures and probates inherently have the same motivation? If you take out saturation.
Yes.
To a point, right?
Yeah.
If you take it out, if I get 10 guys who are in pre-foreclosure, 10 guys in probate, they're both could probably hear me out the same. But here's the problem. Why are the probates so much better than pre-foreclosures? Because if you're a pre-foreclosure seller, you're getting 5,000 calls, millions of texts, door knockers, sticky note. You're getting hit everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I can just go to X Leads and get that list. The probates, on the other hand, they're hard to get.
Work for it.
You got to work for it. And it's because less people are attacking that. It's always like a fishing pond, right? Mm-hmm. If I have 2 fishing ponds, this pond has 100 bass and this pond has 100 bass. Well, if no one's fishing, I'll probably equal my results, both of them, right? There's always variables. But if I have 50 fishermen in one lake and 2 guys in one lake, the lake with less fishermen is just going to be better. Simple. And so then there's always variables. Well, if I spent 10 hours fishing in the saturated lake, I'll probably catch more fish than doing 30 minutes in the unsaturated lake, right? And so there's so many variables to your success in wholesaling. But if you just do the work and get lists that nobody else is really pulling, you'll do well. And this is why I always say is like government lists. So the code violations, people that are on violation from code enforcement, right? Usually tall grass, probates, pre-foreclosures from the county, right? Every single software pulls pre-foreclosures. Every single software is at minimum, not maximum, minimum 7-10 days late. All of them, right? And so if you get straight from the horse's mouth, like right when it got filed that day, you have a small advantage. Even if you get like the evictions list, fire damage properties, water shut off list, the arrest records, right? Those government lists that we teach in freeholstein.com. And we actually have a free spreadsheet now, just FYI, in freeholstein.com, where you can just pull the list, upload to X Leads, get it skip trace, you're good to go, right? That's where I tell you to do drawing for dollars, obviously. And then you just pay for a list at X Leads. We just got to understand that the government list drawing for dollars list is going to be way better than the other stuff starting out. And then it goes back to channels, right? So many ways to get a deal. You can call, text. I'm big on emailing now. I'm big on digital bandit signs. We just came out the email course, right? The email offer generator, which is free inside of freeholstein.com. It's this buffet's out here. I just stop standing there in fear. And so if you want to be full in the buffet, you just got to eat. Should I eat the chicken? Should I eat the steak? Just eat.
You just got to go in and do the work. If you're just going to stare at the list and stare at everything, you forget the deer in the headlight. Just grab one and go with it. And then I see some people like, well, Rick, what do you think the difference between the vacancy list and the pre-foreclosure list? I go, which list do you believe in more? Just call. Sometimes just do it. You can sit there and split hairs all day, and you use procrastination as a stalling method. It just means you're uncomfortable and you're starting to try to figure out how to get back into your old self. Just do it, rip through it. You're going to have to go through every list anyways. Mm-hmm. So I don't care if you call the vacancy, the pre-foreclosure, the probates, whatever. Just get through it. Yeah. And remember, the 2 biggest cures to anybody struggling in wholesale or anybody starting with zero experience, number 1, quantity. Whatever you need, multiply it by 10. I promise you it will fix your problem because it gives you more opportunities. And the second part, the more opportunities you have means the more reps. And the more reps build your confidence. It brings you along the journey of wholesaling, and it prevents you from quitting. I've never seen someone ever be successful in wholesaling without a ton of leads and without putting in the reps. And the reps means, by the way, guys, I love AI. We use lots of tools in Excel in AI. But if I have a list and say it's just 1,000, please don't think AI can just look at it and go, just call these 3. These are the ones that are going to sell to you. It will help with probabilities and statistics over large numbers. But I don't want to call the 1,000 either. But here's the difference between you and me. I'll call the 1,000. You'll talk about calling the 1,000. And that's the difference when most people struggle in wholesaling. Or they're going to get a third of the way through it and complain about it. And I can tell you, if you're whining and crying in wholesaling, you're wasting your time. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody wants to be associated with you. Focus on someone that wants to create solutions to the problem. Hey, how can I get through this? Okay, if you want to get through that many lights, we might have to consider a triple dialer. You can do it.
And I love that
There's one in there's one in Ninja mode, triple line dialer, boom, right there.
But like, go for the solution, because once you start whining and crying, we're getting nothing done, and you start pissing off everybody around you, and you start talking in your inner voice, and you're trying to create a story in your head that it's not going to work. I can't convince you. If you think inside your head it's not going to work, I promise you it's not going to work. But once you do solution, you're trying to overcome the problem, and you can find a way to break through it. And once you break through it, like, okay, when that comes up again, now I know exactly what to do. Rick and Zach taught me what to do, and you move forward. If you don't have a solution, most people do nothing or they quit. Yeah. And that's the difference, is be the person that just rips through the list. And then when you get through the list, you go, hey, Rick, I called everybody on that vacancy list. I got some interesting information. That's a great conversation because you learn going forward. But if you're going to stall and whine and moan about it, I have deaf ears. I'm like, I can't do this, because I used to do that when I started out, and you just waste time. So focus on getting through the problem with a solution as opposed to complaining or whining. And you'll find out real quick. If you whine a lot, you'll know, because everybody around you knows it. And the key to it is just recognize it. Once you recognize it, then you can stop the pattern, and you have to use a discipline muscle to stop doing it. So the easiest thing to do when you whine, find a way to replace it.
It's just like the X-Leads algorithm, right? Because like the AI is really good, but like it's not going to automatically find the best. It literally does the way that we think about wholesaling deals or statistics, right? Well, most real estate deals have some sort of motivating factor. And we found if there's 3 motivating factors, it's more likely to get a deal. If there's a lot of equity, better chance it's a good wholesale deal. If they owned it for longer, better chances a wholesaling deal. There's just right. That's how it works. But you just got to work. Like that's like the whole gist of today. Consistent deals come from consistent work. That's it. Buyers are frankly pretty easy. We share how to do it, right? I mean, Facebook groups are amazing. X-Leads will just dispo the deal almost for you. You make the posting, blast it out, do what, like it's best dispo software out there. You can even go to like Zillow, the For Rent. Like there's so many ways to find cash buyers. It's finding the deals is the hard part, right? That's where we spend the majority of our time. And here's the thing: like, you want to get let's do a quick podcast, right? 2 minutes. Like, how do you consistently get wholesale deals? Oh, that's really easy. Just spend $15,000 a month in direct mail, and you'll consistently get deals. Done. Podcast over. Like that. That could have been a 2-minute podcast. But here's the problem: most people, well, I don't have 15 grand. Okay, well, go do PPL. And they're like, well, I saw on a YouTube video, PPL is pretty easy. I tell the guy, well, they spent 15 grand of PPL leads. If you want to get the same PPL leads, you just spend 15 grand to get one deal. And those deals have very, very large percentages of them not working out. It's like, well, you can spend 15 grand in PPL in a day. Well, I can't spend 15 grand in a day. Well, like I see a lot of people on YouTube share me clips like, well, this guy did a deal, PPL live. And I'm like, well, like how many leads did the guy buy? He's like, well, he bought 15. I'm like, 15 times 500. And I'm like, it's a lot of money. Could you spend 8 grand in a day? They're like, no. I'm like, that's what I thought. It's not buying one, like, you know what I mean? And so like PPL is never the way. Their ROI is just absolutely dismal. PPC, decent, a little better, but you're still dropping 7, 8, 15 grand a month, right? It's like, well, if you're not at that point, which guys, go, if you have the money, go test. I think you should test everything out because I've tested all out. But when you're just starting out, you just make first 100 grand. You can't do that. That's why you're listening to this, right? Like there's a lot. It's just so easy. The buffet's out there. A million ways to make $1 million. If you have less than 1,000, you have to cut out half of it. And then you just do the things that suck. That's how you make money, guys. So if you want to consistently get deals, guys, like go to freewholesaling.com, the free wholesale course. Go to zachdiscord.com, right? And that's how you get rich, right?
And put in the work. Like it at the end of the day, no one's coming to save you. Not me, Zach, anybody else. You've got to step up. People always talk about getting a buddy system. No. Just step up. Start telling yourself the truth. If you're going to make 1,000 phone calls, make the 1,000 phone calls. Stop breaking the deals with you. And after a while, you're like, you know what? I'm going to live up to what I know I can be. And if you've found us through wholesaling, join us over at freewholesaling.com. The one thing about me and Zach is we make it available to everyone. You have no excuse with us. I'm not giving you the typical capital. You got to stroke a big giant check on it. But I will tell you, you're going to have to show up and do the work. And if you're willing to do the work, anything's possible in life. I'm proof of it. You're proof of it. And if you really want to make an impact on your direct family or you want to make a legacy for your kids, someone's got to step up and make the change. Wholesaling has always been available, guys. It's over 250 years. This isn't like a lot of people want to tell you it was invented in 2013. It's been around a long time, and it's going to be around for a long time, well, when I'm not here. So take advantage of it because it is the real deal, but you got to put in the work. Go out there, fight for it. You can get whatever you want.
That's it. I mean, to quote the great Randy Macho Man Savage, the cream will always rise to the top.
Oh, yeah.
And, the cream in wholesaling is top 20%. Just do that, right? Be like Macho Man Randy Savage.
Most wholesalers are average, and it's very easy to eat average people. You just have to outwork them. And if you're willing to outwork them and you will admit it, then wholesaling, I guarantee you will work. But you have to outwork everybody else.
That's it. So, guys, you got any value from this video, this podcast? Do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe, go to freewholesaling.com. Again, this is Zach Kin signing out.
Rick Ginn signing out.
Have a blessed one.